So, what is one of the world's most watched companies really going to look like by the time 2030 rolls around? Today, we're not just going to guess. We're actually going to decode a roadmap, a consensus forecast from dozens of financial analysts to get a real data-driven peek into Tesla's future. I mean, that's the big question, isn't it? Is Tesla going to double in size? Triple? And is it still mainly going to be a car company? Well, that's exactly what we're about to find out. All right, so this spreadsheet is what we're working with. Now, I know, it looks a little complex, but trust me, hidden in all these rows and columns is a glimpse into the future. It's a consensus forecast from top financial analysts. So think of it less like a spreadsheet and more like a crystal ball. And today, we're going to break it all down. But hang on, before we jump into all the juicy predictions, we really need to understand where they're coming from. So first up, a super quick look at how this all works. The key term here is consensus. Okay, so what does that even mean? Well, imagine 10 different weather forecasters all trying to predict tomorrow's temperature. The consensus would just be the average of all their predictions. See, it's not just one person's opinion, it's a blend of many, and that gives us a much more balanced view. And we also need to be really clear on a few ground rules here. First, this data comes from outside analysts, not from Tesla itself. That's important. Second, and this is absolutely crucial, these are projections, okay, not promises. The future isn't written yet, but these forecasts give us a really powerful sense of the direction things are expected to go. Okay, with the ground rules set, let's get into the core of the forecast, starting with the part of Tesla that everybody knows, the cars. To really understand the journey to 2030, we first need a starting point, right? So let's take a look at where the experts see vehicle deliveries landing just a couple of years from now. All right, for 2026, the analysts are predicting a median of just under 1.7 million vehicle deliveries. That's our baseline. Now, I want you to keep that number in your head. Now, let's get to the big jump. From that $1.7 million starting point, where do analysts expect Tesla to be 4 years later, right at the turn of the decade? And boom, over 2.6 million vehicles. Let's just pause on that for a second. That's not just growth, that's a serious acceleration. It means analysts are expecting Tesla to add almost 1 million cars to its annual delivery rate in just 4 years. And this timeline really shows the journey. It's not just an upward climb, it's a steep one. The forecast projects this consistent, powerful growth, adding hundreds of thousands of deliveries year after year to hit that 2030 target. So what's actually driving all this growth? Well, it's probably no surprise that the consensus points to the Model 3 and Y continuing to be the workhorses, making up the vast majority of sales. So while new models will definitely play a part, the forecast is pretty clear. The core business is going to be anchored by its most popular cars. But here's the thing. That impressive growth in vehicles, that's only half the story. And honestly, according to these analysts, it might not even be the most exciting half, because Tesla's energy business looks like it's poised for something even more dramatic. Yeah, if the vehicle forecast was all about steady, powerful growth, the energy storage forecast is about an explosion. This is a part of the business that, often gets overlooked, but as this data shows, it could be a massive, massive driver of Tesla's future. Just look at this jump. I mean, wow. The median forecast for energy deployments is set to rocket from about 65 gigawatt hours in 2026 to almost 170 by 2030. That is a huge leap, and it suggests analysts believe this side of the business is about to hit a major turning point. So we've got the car story and we've got the energy story. Now, let's put them side by side and see what the complete picture of Tesla in 2030 actually looks like, at least according to this forecast. And here it is, all laid out. You can clearly see two powerful engines of growth. The vehicle business is on this strong, consistent climb, but just look at the energy business. I mean, that thing is a rocket ship. So here's the really crucial point. When you calculate the growth rates between 2026 and 2030, the story becomes crystal clear. Vehicle deliveries, they're projected to grow by an impressive 57%. But energy deployments are forecast to grow by 162%. That's nearly 3 times faster. Okay, now let's bring it back to reality for a moment. It's so important to remember what this data actually is. It's a snapshot of expectation. It's the market's best guess today about where things are headed tomorrow. And, well, expectations can and often do change. And that uncertainty is actually baked right into the data. It's measured by something called standard deviation. For 2030 vehicle deliveries, the standard deviation is a massive 826,000. And that huge number tells us there's a really wide range of opinions among the experts. Some are way more bullish, some are more conservative. It's basically a number that says this is anything but a sure thing. So, after all that, what should you really take away from this? I think it's three things. One, Wall Street expects Tesla to keep growing, and significantly. Two, the energy business is poised to become a really critical part of the company, maybe more than people realize. And three, while the exact numbers are definitely going to change, the overall trend, the direction and the sheer scale of this projected growth, that's the real story here. So that leaves us with one final thought. This whole forecast is based on what analysts can see and predict today. But what about the wild cards? A true self-driving breakthrough, the Optimus robot, or a completely new kind of vehicle. The story we've seen today is just one possible future. The real question is, what innovation is going to come along and rewrite it completely? Thanks for digging into this with me.